Hello everyone and welcome to the Melbourne Traditionalist episode 63. Today I'm going to be talking about letters and comments that I've received. Now if you can hear background noise on this episode, I've actually got my window open and so you might hear some birds tweeting or some motorbikes driving past or what have you. But it shouldn't interfere with the rest of the program. Now today it's a beautiful, lovely day, so I decided to open the window and get a bit of fresh air into the room. But yesterday it was miserable, and I had to meet up with somebody for the Melbourne Traditionalist. The first new person I've interacted with in months, and I heard that all the shops in Melbourne were open. So I started to call around to a few restaurants and bars and so forth so that we could meet up there, so I could book a table, and I didn't get any answer. And I even called up a hotel and asked to be connected to their bottle shop through their automatic redirection, and it cut me off. Even their bottle shop wasn't open, it wasn't talking to people. So in the end, the only place that I could actually find where we could meet was the outdoor section of a KFC, a Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, and it was cold. It was cold sitting there talking, but, it was a good meeting. Now, I want to start talking about subscribers, because this is on YouTube and you can subscribe to the channel, and 176 people have subscribed to date. But I must say I'm a little bit confused about this, because the numbers that I get are nowhere near 176. So why do people subscribe? It doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe I'm a bit of a stickler, because I am not subscribed to anybody on YouTube, even though there are regular channels that I go to. And I guess my feeling is if you've subscribed, you're going to check out pretty much everything, or at least the majority of what they publish. But it seems that that's not the case. I'll just give you some idea of just how bizarrely different the numbers are. 176 subscribers, yet it was 3 weeks ago that I have had a program have more than 50 viewers. It's 3 months ago since I've had more than 100. And it's 5 months ago since I had more than 176 people look at an episode. And that was the Black Pill episode. That's a long time. Why are people subscribed? I don't know. I don't know how it works. Yeah, it's a big mystery to me. All right, well, let's have a look at some of the comments that I've been receiving. And some of them are just comments, and some of them I'll actually go into quite a bit of detail about. So I've received some really good comments from a guy called Celtic Cook, and he wrote on tradition. Why do traditionalists believe in tradition? Tradition is metaphysical and transient time. It is the eternal way, the way that exists and gets aimed towards no matter how nature manifests physically. That's great. I really can't add much more to that. That's really good. And then I wrote in the next episode, which was order. Why do traditionalists believe in order? And he wrote, it's actually very hard to find modern stories that aren't about insulting order. Old films are better. Aesop's fables are best. And what I wrote about was how when you watch movies, there's always nearly every movie is about denying order. Instead of things having a natural order, it's always about overturning that order. So, the poor guy makes good. The woman beats the man. The non-white beats whitey. It's always that overcoming the order that exists and replacing it with a new order, completely subverting the order that exists. And it's true what Celtic Cook says, that it's actually very hard to find modern stories that aren't about insulting order. Now, there's a guy called Cathari, and he wrote in Destroying... I wrote Destroying the Future, and he wrote this comment. I will assume that when you say fascism, you are including National Socialism, Nazism. Personally, I do not adhere to that connection, but that's another issue. I think it should be made clear that National Socialism does not adhere to some future perfectibility of man, nor any conclusion to the historical process. In fact, properly understood, it represents the idea that the white race, with all its countless flaws, exists within a process of continuing creation, or a seemingly endless evolutionary process in which perfection is an ideal only, not an obtainable goal. Within this cosmology, there is no end to history, nor any fixed position of perfection. It is Western Christianity which expresses such views, not the National Socialist idea. All right, so as this guy said, he's not a Nazi, he doesn't subscribe to that, but he's basically saying that when I said that all of the ideologies, which includes liberalism, which includes communism, which includes anarchism, and includes fascism, they all have an end point. And Nazism also has an end point. It does believe in a perfect world. Whether it believes in perfect people, all right, maybe that you could argue. But you can argue in favour that they do. After all, they do believe in the Übermensch, the Superman. Well, what's the Superman if not a perfect person? You could, however, argue that that's the ideal and that they're not after the ideal. They don't believe that the ideal can actually be obtained. I actually think that they do think it can be obtained. And but within the Nazi movement, even in Nazi Germany, there was a tension between exactly what could be achieved and what should be sought to be achieved. But even within communism, most people are after very mundane, everyday issues. They're actually interested much more in the next year or the next 10 years than they are in the next 100 or 1,000. But those who are theorists, they're not interested in the next year or the next 10 years. They're much more interested in the next 100 or the next 1,000. And that's where they put their perfectibility. Now, this is something that I've already addressed. Western Christianity expresses such views, not the National Socialist idea. Actually, Christianity does not say that people are perfectible, not in this life. It has a supernatural explanation, and that's what defines all of the ideologies. All of the ideologies do believe in perfectibility in this life. And that might not be within your lifetime or mine, but it's certainly within human lifetime, within this universe. So actually, I do think that Nazism believes in perfectibility. Now, then I had a comment from Anita, and she wrote on China's Century of Humiliation, Part 2, that there's a book called The Good Earth, which I have not read. And the 1950s movie that you can't think of is called The Inn of the Sixth Happiness. And it was originally a book called The Little Woman, and it's a true story about a British woman, working class woman, who goes to China and sets up an orphanage and finally has to flee from the Japanese invasion, and then leaves, although this is not in the movie, leaves China after the communists win, and finished up running an orphanage in Taiwan. Now, she was very unhappy with the movie, which isn't a bad movie. It was all filmed in North Wales, and they actually do a pretty good job of hiding that fact. But she said that it was actually called the Inn of the Eighth Happiness, which makes a lot more sense because 8 is a lucky number in Chinese numerology, in Chinese culture. And if you remember the Beijing Olympics opened on the 8th of August 2008, so 888, which is the best number you can have in Chinese tradition. And she also said that her trip to China, which actually went through the Soviet Union, was actually much more harrowing than shown in the movie. Now we're back to Celtic Cook, and I wrote a post, "We Are the Jews Now," and Celtic Cook wrote, "If it's so soft, then why do the police have AR-15s?" So what I wrote is that, under Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union, countries like that, they were a hard tyranny. And, they had secret police and they had concentration camps or their equivalent. And they weren't shy about arresting people who they didn't like. But that doesn't happen in our society under liberalism. And liberalism is a soft tyranny. And I described the difference as, in a tyranny, the government shoots you in the head. But in a soft tyranny, the government harasses you until you shoot yourself in the head. So as Celtic Cook's put, if that's so soft, then why do the police have AR-15s? And the answer is that multiculturalism is failing. That's why they have AR-15s. That's why they have shotguns and so forth, because it's failing. And instead of admitting that failure, they have adjusted to it, as most of the people around have. Most of the people have adjusted to it, and they don't even think about it. They just go, "Oh well, things are bad. You just got to, what can you do?" Well, actually, you could stop it. You could reverse it. You could get control of the situation. But instead, we have AR-15s. So I'm not going to. I'm going through the more interesting ones, or the ones that are that have that actually need an answer. Well, I thought I had more there, but I've actually run out of comments. So what I will talk about is the Queensland state election result. On Saturday, there was a state election in Queensland, and Labor, who were in government, has retained government, and they've won more seats. And I must say, it's just beyond belief. It's just beyond belief that Australians are just so... I really want to swear here. We're just getting worse and worse as a country. Here Labor shut down Queensland, destroyed the economy, and they win re-election. What does it take? What does it take to kick these bastards out? It's just unbelievable. And then One Nation. Well, they only had one seat in the state parliament, and they've retained that seat. But they actually had a drop of about 7%. Katter's Australia Party, they had 3 seats, and they actually won those quite comfortably. So one of them had got 74.7% of the vote, and that was after a swing against him. Well, all right. But, yeah, even the Greens won. The Greens they only had 1 seat, now they've got 2. But it's just everywhere. It seems that we're getting worse and worse. And instead of actually trying to fix the problems that we have, it's just people can't even see that these problems exist. I must say, I'm losing more and more of my little remaining faith in democracy. Well, even though I'm nowhere near the length that I normally do a program, I think I will finish on that depressing remark. And if you wish to support my work, you can. And I will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.